Dr. Amina Reyes leaned forward in her captain's chair, the soft hum of the Odyssey's reactor thrumming beneath her, as the hollow display before her shimmered with data. Hours earlier, she'd been drifting through the usual background noise of the Centauri expanse, routine scans of nebular dust and cosmic radiation. Humanity's deep space listening posts had produced nothing but static for decades. Then, at 03:17 Galactic Standard Time, the sensors had picked up something impossibly precise. Amina's gloved fingers danced over the console, isolating the pulse. It was rhythmic, a perfect, living heartbeat embedded in electromagnetic waves. At first glance, it looked like a beacon from some long-abandoned probe. But there was a complexity here. The waveform carried folding patterns, recursive sequences that hinted at intentional encoding. Her heart pounded as she tapped the linguistic subroutine. Within seconds, strands of pure data morphed into letters, and words phasing into Amina's mind without the need for vocalization. The message read in pristine English, "Children, we have waited." She blinked twice. English? No galactic standard alphabet or UN interlingua. This was Earth's native tongue, carried across light years unchanged. She replayed the message, half expecting anomalies, distortions, or fail-safe syntactic errors, but it was flawless, bold, direct. Amina's breath caught. She had been one of the project leads on xenolinguistics, but even she hadn't dared hope for a first contact so intimate. A message addressed personally to humanity, calling us children. Who were these senders, and why had they waited so long? She tapped the comm link. "Bridge, this is Reyes. Get me Commander Novak and Dr. Ling Wei, please. Now." Within moments, Commander Ilya Novak arrived, his posture rigid with anticipation. The young officer was known for his steely focus, but the tension in his shoulders betrayed him. "Status?" he asked, voice low. "An encoded pulse," Amina replied, replaying the message. "It's coming from a nebula at the edge of the Helix Spur. The language? It's English, Ilya. Perfect English." Lieutenant Ling Wei materialized at her side, eyes wide behind her augmented reality glasses. The ship's xenolinguistic AI had already cross-referenced every human language in recorded history. Ling pressed a gloved finger to her display. There's no dialectal variation, no evolution in syntax or vocabulary. This is contemporary late 21st century English. Even colloquialisms are intact. Whoever's transmitting knows us intimately. She looked at Amina and Novak. "This feels personal." Dr. Nico Santos, the mission's exobiologist, hovered in the background. Though more comfortable with genomes than glossaries even, he sensed the gravity of the moment. "Personal or not," he said, voice gruff. "We should assume the worst. Could be a trap. A lure." Amina raised a finger. "Or it could be the most profound discovery in human history." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "We've spent centuries searching the stars. Now the stars are speaking back." 2 hours later, the Odyssey adjusted course towards the nebula's coordinates. The bridge lights dimmed as the ship's silhouette glided through the void. Crew stations flared to life, monitors laying out their flight path through turbulent cosmic winds. At the observation dome, Amina stood alone, staring into the swirling violet haze. It glimmered like liquid amethyst, clouds of ionized gas dancing amid hidden magnetic fields. Without warning, a ripple of bioluminescent flares coursed through the nebula, tendrils of light folding in on themselves, forming patterns that mimicked neural synapses. Her comm link crackled. "Approaching transmit radius," Ling Wei's voice came through, calm but urgent. "Signal strength increasing. You'll want to see this." She nodded to herself and moved to the holotable. As the Odyssey edged closer, the bursts of light converged on a single point, an immense structure more cathedral than construct. It floated serenely amid the violet mists, its silhouette etched in glowing filaments that pulsed like living veins. "Is that?" Santos began, but words failed. Amina swallowed. "It looks alive." The vessel's biometric scanners confirmed it. Composed of organic polymers interwoven with crystalline matrices, the structure exhibited metabolic fluctuations, growth rings, cellular regeneration. Patterns of glyphic fractals spiraled across, its surface shifting and reforming like thoughts. Ling Wei tapped the data stream. The glyphs, they're moving. I'm detecting linguistic markers, proto-sentences, maybe even names. Commander Novak spoke into his mic. All hands, prepare for first contact protocols. Mods 1 through 5, stand by. Dr. Reyes, you have... The Amina squared her shoulders, recalling every simulation she'd ever run. Let's be respectful. We don't know their nature, biological, synthetic, something else entirely. Open a secure channel. No surprise moves. The bridge stilled, breaths held in unison, as the Odyssey's communications array locked onto the structure. The violet haze parted like a curtain. In its center, a sphere of iridescent mist drifted, a sentinel of light and color, alive and aware. Then, without a flicker of speakers or transmissions, the sphere's presence filled every mind on board. No words formed on screens. No broadcasts crackled through speakers. Instead, a chorus of thoughts, the gentle cadence of a voice that had echoed through eons, washed over them. Children, we have waited for you. And in that moment, Amina Reyes knew that humanity's story was about to be rewritten. The Odyssey shuddered as it punched through the outer edge of the whispering nebula. Commander Novak's voice crackled over the intercom. Brace for turbulence. Within seconds, the ship was buffeted by invisible currents of charged particles. Irregular, but rhythmic, as if the nebula itself were breathing. In the observation dome, violet clouds swirled like liquid galaxy, illuminated from within by streaks of emerald lightning. Dr. Nico Santos gripped the rail, marveling aloud. Magneto-hydrodynamic storms this size. I've only ever modeled them. He peered at the sensor readouts dancing across his console. These fluctuations, they're almost too ordered, like a heartbeat. Ling Wei's eyes glowed with reflected nebular light. Not just ordered, they're synchronized with our ship's approach vectors. The nebula is responding to us. She replayed the waveform on the holo display, subtle modulations in amplitude that echoed the Eldaran signal. It's guiding us. Amina Reyes stood beside them, arms folded. Pilots, match our velocity to the storm's rhythm. Let the currents carry us further in. The helmswoman deftly adjusted thrusters, and the Odyssey settled into the nebula's flow. The violent shakes eased into a steady glide. 2 hours later, when the turbulent edge gave way to a calm, bioluminescent core, the crew gathered around the central hollow. Before them hovered a cathedral unlike any they'd seen, an immense lattice of crystalline branches, each filament pulsing with living color. At its base, translucent walkways led into arching portals of light. Ling Wei inhaled. You can almost see the structure breathing, cells dividing, grafting, growing. She tapped the hollow, zooming in on glyph-like patterns etched into the crystal. These markings, they shift like neural networks reforming. From the command deck, Novak announced, we're within docking range. Shields up but passive. Life signs within the structure are off the charts. It's as if the whole thing is one colossal organism. As the docking clamps engaged, the outer hull lights flickered and dimmed. The cathedral's tendrils extended, gently enveloping the ship in a cradle of soft, warm luminescence. Amina felt the faintest pulse, like a greeting heartbeat transmitted directly through the hull. Prepare to disembark, she ordered. Form an away team. Ling, Santos, Dr. Reyes, and myself. Everyone else remains on standby. Moments later, the airlock door sighed open to reveal corridors of living crystal. The walls glowed with drifting glyphs that seemed to respond to their presence, opening and closing in patterns that resembled welcoming gestures. Each step they took left a faint imprint of bioluminescent footprints, which faded moments later as new ones formed. Ling raised a scanning wand. Biopolymer matrix infused with trace amounts of prismatic minerals. It's both structural and sensory, like a neural network woven into architecture. She moved closer to a glyph, fingertips hovering. These shapes, they resemble musical notation more than language. Perhaps they communicate emotion or intention through resonance. Dr. Santos knelt beside a pool of iridescent fluid at the corridor's intersection. He scooped a sample into a containment vial. Cellular reproduction, but on a macro scale. These pools regenerate the crystalline framework. The whole cathedral is alive, growing, healing, adapting. As they advanced, the corridor widened into a circular chamber. In its center floated the iridescent orb from their first contact. Now fully revealed, a sphere of mist and light, swirls of sapphire and gold intermingling like galaxies in microcosm. No mechanical hum, no flicker of speakers, only a presence. A collective shiver ran through the away team as the orb's gentle thought waves washed over them. Welcome, children of our dreams. Amina felt tears well in her eyes. Ling's voice trembled. This is the heart of the Eldaran Nexus. They thought us lost forever. The orb's luminescence intensified, casting dancing fractals of light across their visors. It beckoned them forward, into the very core of an ancient intelligence that had awaited humanity's arrival across the silent span of cosmic time. The forgotten origin. The chamber's luminescence pulsed in time with the orb's subtle rhythm, bathing the away team in shifting hues of sapphire and amber. Dr. Amina Reyes steadied her breath as memories, others and her own, drifted through her mind like wisps of stardust. In that silent communion, the Eldaran presence began to tell its story. Eons before time, a vision unfolded, an endless void pierced by the first flicker of creation. A species of pure energy, neither flesh nor machine, drifted among newborn stars. They called themselves the Eldarans, the Watchers, and they felt the lonely burden of consciousness before life was even a memory. Driven by an ancient longing, they reached into the void and sowed the seeds of life. Single cells in barren pools, amino acids in drifting comets, genetic sparks in embryonic worlds, cut to distant epochs. The Eldarans watched as their seeds took root on lifeless planets. On verdant worlds, life blossomed into forests. On storm-racked planets, tentacled creatures swam in acid seas. On desert worlds, winged explorers took to the skies. And always the Eldarans guided evolution from afar, weaving subtle genetic signatures into each line of descent. The experiment called Earth, the vision sharpened. One planet, blue and green, stood apart, Earth. Here, evolution raced with breathtaking speed. Intelligence ignited in primordial pools. Tool use emerged on savanna plains. Language bloomed in river valleys. The Eldarans observed with awe and a touch of apprehension. If their other creations were brushstrokes on the cosmic canvas, humans were a living epic. They dispatched their final experiment, a plasmic ark, the seed ship Vayara, carrying Eldaran genetic codices encoded in crystalline lattice. Its mission? Introduce an accelerated evolutionary template, watch humanity's spirit rise. But as the seed ship entered Earth's orbit millions of years ago, catastrophe struck. A rogue gravitational wave from a collapsing star shattered the vessel. The link between Eldarans and their children was severed. The ark plummeted into the sea, its records buried beneath centuries of sediment and myth. Whispers through millennia, images flickered through the team's shared consciousness. Cave paintings of glowing figures descending from the night sky. Sumerian tablets shaken by dreams of star parents. Petroglyphs in the Australian outback depicting beings of light teaching hunters to weave nets and sharpen tools. Across time and culture, a single motif persisted: human reunion and reckoning. The crystalline chamber thrummed with quiet anticipation as the Eldaran orb, now drifting at the center of the grand cathedral, unfurled its consciousness like a living tapestry. Amina Reyes felt its gentle surge through every synapse, a greeting, an invitation, and a promise all at once. The gift of Synesis in a radiant bloom of light, the orb projected a multifaceted shard into Amina's palm. It was no larger than a quartz crystal, yet within its facets danced galaxies of data, knowledge of every world the Eldarans had touched, every species they had guided, every triumph and catastrophe they had witnessed. This was the seed of Synesis, the culmination of 10 billion years of wisdom and empathy. Amina instinctively passed the shard to Ling Wei. The linguist's eyes widened as the glyphs carved into the crystal pulsed in perfect harmony with her neural implants. In a rush of insight, she saw cures for diseases that had plagued humanity since its dawn, algorithms for restoring dead ecosystems, and philosophical treatises on transcending violence. Yet beneath the wonder lay a deeper current. This gift was more than data. It was a bond, a tether linking human minds to the Eldarin collective. Seeds of doubt. Dr. Nico Santos recoiled. "We can't just download their entire civilization into our brains," he warned, voice echoing against living walls. "What if we lose ourselves? What if humanity becomes a reflection of them rather than our own bold creation?" Commander Novak stood between them, the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. "We need to consider the consequences," he said, eyes fixed on the glowing shard. "This power, if used wisely, it could end suffering on Earth. But if misused, it could enslave our civilization." Ling looked from the shard to her crewmates. "We've always defined ourselves by curiosity and compassion. The Eldarans embody those traits too. Perhaps this is less about control and more about stewardship, guidance to ensure we don't repeat the same mistakes." Amina raised her voice above the debate. "We owe it to every human being, past, present, and future, to make the best choice. We asked to join this moment. Now we must decide how we carry this gift back to Earth." Council of Two Worlds at the heart of the cathedral, under vaults of living crystal, the away team convened a council. Through thought streams, the Eldarans themselves joined, forming a chorus of ancient voices that echoed through each human mind. Eldaran Chorus. "We offer not dominion, but partnership. The seed of Synesis is a tool for healing, for learning, for unity. It will not override your will, but awaken your highest potential." Ling Wei stepped forward. "We propose unanimous acceptance with safeguards, a human-led council to oversee the shard's application, and open dialogue with the Eldarans to ensure transparency." Dr. Santos shook his head. "And if the council fractures? If one faction uses the shard to claim supremacy? We risk civil war on a planetary scale." Commander Novak raised a hand, calling for silence. He turned to the orb and spoke aloud, a human voice in the choir of telepathy. "We accept your gift, Eldarans," he declared, "but under human terms. We will establish councils across Earth's nations, scientists, ethicists, and lay people, to guide its use. We promise to honor our autonomy even as we learn from you." A soft crescendo of light pulsed through the cathedral as the orb's facets glowed brighter. The Eldaran voices harmonized in approval. The vigil of decision that night, under the cathedral's living sky of shifting fractals, the humans held a vigil. Each member of the away team placed a hand on the seed of Synesis, sharing their hopes and fears in a silent ritual. Amina felt her own heartbeat synchronize with the crystal's pulse, a reminder that despite the enormity of this moment, she remained human. Ling laid her palm next, eyes closed as she envisioned a future where knowledge healed rather than harmed. Santos stood apart, arms crossed, wrestling with the tension between caution and wonder. When the dawn of the fifth cycle of the nebula broke, the shard glowed with unwavering light, a sign that humanity's choice had been honored. As the away team prepared to return to the Odyssey, Amina carried the seed close to her heart. The Eldaran cathedral faded into the violet mists behind them, but its promise endured. The universe's oldest parents had found their children, and now a new chapter in human history awaited, one written together with a civilization older than time itself. The Odyssey broke free of the nebula's embrace and charted a straight course home, the seed of Synesis secured in a containment cradle at its core. As Earth's pale blue orb grew on the view screen, the away team reflected on how much had changed in their hearts, and how much still lay ahead. Crossing the void for the first time in centuries, humanity's flagship carried more than scientific instruments. It bore a cosmic heritage. In the crew lounge, Dr. Ling Wei connected her neural interface to the shard, streaming data snippets to test the Council's safe use protocols. Each fragment of Eldarin wisdom unfurled like a ribbon of light through her mind. Yet her identity remained firmly grounded. She was Ling, with her own memories, hopes, and dreams. Commander Novak oversaw navigations, but his thoughts often strayed to Earth's leaders. Could they be trusted to wield such power responsibly? He drafted his initial report, emphasizing the need for transparency and the inclusion of global voices: scientists, ethicists, artists, even children and elders. In the medbay, Dr. Santos examined the first biological applications: nanoparticles, coated with Eldarin genetic templates that could repair damaged cells without rejection. He marveled at the elegance of the designs, a marriage of form and function he'd never dreamed possible. Still, he ran twice as many simulations as the Council required, determined to safeguard against unintended mutations. The first Earthbound steps weeks later, the Odyssey splashed down in the Pacific, far from any single nation's shores. A joint task force of UN envoys, scientists, and journalists gathered on distant atolls, cameras capturing humanity's return. As Amina Reyes disembarked, she held the seed of Senesis aloft, its facets catching the morning sun like a promise. In the weeks that followed, the Global Senesis Council convened in Geneva. Delegates from every continent and culture sat around a circular table, etched with symbols from Earth's myriad traditions. The Eldarans joined via a telepresence of shimmering light and sound, their presence respectful and patient. Under the SciFi Council's guidance, the first wave of applications rolled out. Medicine. A single injection of Senesis-derived nanocarriers healed leukemia at the genetic root, with patients reporting vivid dreams of starlight. Ecology. Rewilding projects. Revived deserts into blossoming savannas, and coral reefs regrew in decades what had taken centuries to perish. Education. Crystal-tipped learning nodes allowed students to absorb languages, math, and art directly, while nurturing critical thinking and empathy. Each success was tempered by rigorous review. When a biotech startup attempted to commercialize Senesis genomes for cosmetic enhancements, the Council swiftly intervened, reminding the world that this was a gift of stewardship, not profit. Cultural renaissance. As Earth healed, humanity looked inward. Artists wove Eldarin fractal motifs into tapestries and digital installations. Musicians composed symphonies that resonated with the nebula's original pulse. Children in village schools learned not just arithmetic, but cosmic perspective, stories of distant worlds and the deep time of life's tapestry. Traditional leaders, shamans, monks, imams, priests, found their ancient myths validated and enriched. In remote Himalayan monasteries, monks chanted new mantras inspired by Eldarin harmonics. Aboriginal elders in Australia painted rock art under the first permanent bioluminescent gardens, linking dreamtime to the genesis of creation itself. A galaxy awaits 1 year after first contact. The Global Senesis Council authorized humanity's next step: the construction of the Voyager, a new generation of starship equipped with Eldarin, engines that manipulated space-time gently, like a ship sailing on cosmic currents. Commander Novak was named its first captain. Ling Wei led its Xenocommunications lab. Nico Santos oversaw the bioengineering wing. Amina Reyes, honored as humanity's emissary, would accompany them, charting new worlds, seeking other children of the Eldarans, and forging pacts of friendship and learning. As launch day dawned, the world watched. Fireworks of bioluminescent spores drifted across the launch pad, choreographed to music that hummed with the nebula's heartbeat. The Eldarin light forms hovered in the atmosphere above, a silent benediction of starlight and hope. Into the infinite, the Voyager's engines, ignited with a gentle pulse, bending space in ripples of violet and gold. Families pressed against viewing windows. Leaders and citizens alike held hands. Ling Wei's voice crackled over the comms. All systems green. From this day forward, we sail not as Earth alone, but as heirs to countless stars. Amina Reyes stood on deck gazing out at the thinning sky. In her hand, the seed of Synesis glowed softly, a heartbeat in her palm, a bridge between past and future. As the stars blurred and the nebula's echo faded, humanity embarked on its grandest adventure yet, to spread the light of knowledge, compassion, and unity across the endless cosmic sea, guided by the universe's oldest parents and propelled by the indomitable spirit of their lost children, now found at last.